After the storm of the gods. Have you ever wondered what happens when a god dies? Not a mortal, not a beast, but a god, an eternal force of power, order, and divine will. And what if not just one, but all of them fell? The god of the sea, the sun, the underworld, even Zeus, the king of Olympus, cut down by the blades of exile in the hands of Kratos. When God of War 3 ended, it wasn't just the close of a tale of vengeance. It was the fall of an entire mythology. A world once ruled from the heights of Olympus, where gods judged mankind, commanded nature, and decided life and death. Now, that world is silent. No more sacrifices. No more lyres echoing between marble columns. No thunder cracking from the heavens. Only ruins remain. Ashes, dust, and curses left unfinished. The shattered temple and the crack in the universe. There was once a world, vivid and divine, like murals painted across the walls of heaven, where Zeus's thunder split the skies, where every crashing wave was the roar of Poseidon's trident, and where the light of day came not from the sun, but from the open, all-seeing eye of Helios gazing down upon mankind. That world is now a broken dream. Olympus, once suspended between arrogance and eternity, has crumbled into silence. Imagine being a mere mortal in Athens, Sparta, or Corinth, and one day, the rain turns red. You look up, there is no sun. You fall to your knees to pray, but no one answers. Because Helios has been torn apart by Kratos. His blood soaked the sky. His light faded like the last flicker of an oil lamp. Poseidon, ruler of the deep, shattered within his own storm. And the seas rose in fury, drowning thousands in a single breath. Hermes, swift as the wind, is now just two severed, bloodied legs lying on the marble steps of a forgotten temple. And Zeus, the king of the gods, was not undone by prophecy, but by a blade, held by the very one who once called him father. Olympus, once alive with the songs of the muses and the whisper of myths, is now a graveyard of crumbling stones, tumbling into valleys, tearing the skies, and seeding the world with chaos and despair. When the final god fell, the old priestesses whisper in hidden caves, the world did not explode. It simply stopped breathing. A universe without the breath of gods. Have you ever seen a world where death has no doorkeeper? When Hades, the god of the underworld, was torn apart by Kratos, his soul scattered to the void, and the black bone thrown beneath the earth turned colder than death itself. No one remained to guide the dead. No one to guard the boundary between life and what lies beyond. Souls now drift, unmoored, through cities and fields, and sometimes into the dreams of children, who can't explain why they always see a shadow standing at the foot of their bed. No gods, no order, no lines left uncrossed. The world of ancient Greece, once built upon the divine presence of immortal rulers, now lies shattered, like an old ceremonial urn, dropped from the altar, with no one strong enough to piece it back together. And humans? What do when there's no one left to rule? Strangely, not all of them screamed. Not all of them wept. Some collapsed, unable to live without the comfort or tyranny of divine hands. But others stood up, looked to the empty sky, and whispered, "Is this the first time we are truly free? No more offerings. No thunder to threaten you. No rigged game of fate, where a single prophecy can ruin a life. But that freedom, it's a double-edged blade. Because now, there's no one left to blame. Your crops fail? You can't blame Demeter's wrath. You commit a murder? Athena won't lessen your sentence. You fall short? Zeus cannot be accused of injustice. A world without gods is a world where humans must finally bear the weight of their own choices. And that has never happened before. Kratos, a new god, or the final sinner. He walked away, bloody, red-eyed, heavy-hearted. He left no temples, accepted no worship, claimed no throne. Only a trail of footprints through ash and ruin, where gods once ruled. They say after Kratos killed Zeus, the sky went silent. The spirits stopped whispering. No one knows if he lived or died, if he regretted or simply endured. But one truth remains. He was the full stop to an entire era, and the opening breath of a world without divinity. So now, dear listener, have you ever walked into a temple and whispered a prayer? Ever gazed up at the heavens, hoping for a miracle? Then imagine, one day, you look up, and there is nothing. no divine light, no sacred fire, only you, and the choice to rebuild from the ruins or vanish with the dust. When stories of gods become warnings for the living, the rise of memory, when humans recall what they forgot. Strange, isn't it? When the gods lived, people feared them. But when the gods died, people began to remember, not out of reverence, but because of the silence they left behind. Fishermen who once prayed to Poseidon no longer know where calm waters lie. Mothers who once whispered to Demeter now plant seeds in fear, watering them with tears. Philosophers who once debated fate beneath the hands of the Moirai now face a terrifying truth. There is no thread being woven anymore, which means anyone can die, for no reason at all. And so, when temples fell, humans turned their prayers into stories. Stories became myths. Myths became memory, and memory became a warning. There was once a time when gods ruled, and mankind did not yet know the value of freedom. Myth, from faith to lesson. When Zeus reigned, he stood for justice. But it was a harsh justice, flawed, selfish, thunderous. When Athena walked among us, she embodied wisdom. But hers was cold wisdom, strategic, calculating, untouched by empathy. They ruled the world like a theater of repeated mistakes. And Kratos, the lost son, the betrayed demigod, became the consequence. Now, with all the gods gone, the living no longer have mirrors to reflect their morality. And so, the question remains, did the gods fail to teach us how to be better? Or did we fail to learn from their failures? The blood of gods, no seed, only stone. Kratos once believed killing the gods would end the pain, end the manipulation, break the chains. But when divine blood soaked the earth, no flowers grew. Only ash. The world didn't bloom. It paused, like someone wrote an epic, then dropped the pen halfway through. No ending, no hope, just silence. Where once there were storms and songs. The children born after myth. They do not know Zeus. They have never heard the name Persephone, or Hermes, or Artemis. They grow up among broken columns, dried-up rivers, and prayerless skies. And yet, they carry no guilt from Olympus. They are the first not marked by divine shame. And they might be the first to write the beginning of a new era. Not an age of myth, but an age of maturity, where the sacred comes from within. And humility does not need fear to exist. Look upon the ruins. If you go to Greece now, whether in myth or dream, you'll see the broken columns of the Parthenon, stone steps where warriors once prayed before battle, headless statues, shattered amphorae. And if you listen closely, you'll hear a whisper. We once believed gods were eternal, but it is their memory that truly lasts. So when myth no longer lives beside us, but only behind us, does it still hold power? That answer is yours to give. Kratos, the last to live after the world had died. Amid the ashes of what once was Olympus, among shattered statues, collapsed temples, and dried blood, a lone figure walks. Heavy, silent, alone. No one calls his name. No villagers worship him. No monsters fear him. Because Kratos, after killing Zeus, and even himself with one final, bloody thrust, did not die. He still lives. But what remains is no longer a warrior. No more rage. No more curses. No more titles. Just a man, walking through the wreckage he left behind. A man who killed the gods, and now lives in a world with nothing left to kneel before. A journey with no destination. You see, Greek myth always had a goal. The Trojan War, Pandora's box, the oracle's prophecy, the war of titans and gods. But after Kratos, there is no more grand story. No conquest, no fate, no destiny, only a journey. Kratos now walks through hills once lit by Helios, across dead lands where trees refuse to grow, for Demeter is no more. He watches blackbirds pass through skies once warmed by Zephyrus, and he says nothing. Perhaps he seeks forgiveness. Perhaps he walks to avoid standing still. Perhaps he hopes to see whether the world, without gods, can stand on its own. Sinner, or the last god standing. Kratos never called himself a god. Even when he sat on the throne of war, he called himself a tool, a pawn, a ghost of Sparta, a son betrayed by Zeus, a failed father, a man who killed his mother, his brother, his wife and child, in the blindness of war. And when he slew even those who deceived him, he did not become a hero. He became a survivor, the only one left, to witness the emptiness. No parades, no glory, only a fracture running deep beneath the earth, where the bones of mythology now sleep. A new world from ashes? No one knows what comes next. Perhaps there will be new people who need no divine power, no thunder, no magic, only soil to sow, light to live, and faith to dream. But to do that, they must learn to rise without the crutch of myth, to write their own history, not in spells, but in pain and perseverance. And perhaps, just perhaps, Kratos, with bloodied hands and a heart grown weary, will hold that book and keep it safe for those who will write the next chapter. When myth closes and a new breath begins. And so, we have walked together through a world forged in blood, fire, and myth. A world where gods were not just symbols. They were law, they were fear, they were fate. And Kratos, the only one bold enough to defy it all, wrote an ending no prophecy ever dared to speak. No more gods, no more Olympus. Only memory remains, and the trembling hand of the last survivor, silhouetted in the twilight. Greece is dead, but Kratos' journey is not, because after the blood of the gods soaked the shattered stones of the Parthenon, after he walked away in silence, not to escape, but to rediscover himself, Kratos turned toward a new path, northward, to lands where snow buries the past, where new gods watch from behind the misty forests, where fate, once again, waits to challenge the man who killed Olympus. Thank you for walking with us through the aftermath of the Greek gods. But don't leave just yet, because next we step into another realm, where Thor's hammer replaces Zeus's thunder, where the Aesir gods guard destiny with wary eyes, and where a boy carries the fate of the universe. We'll see you in the next chapter. Kratos and the Norse Age. When the past doesn't die, it changes its shape. Prepare yourself, because the price of the past is always paid in the future.